Alright, my friends, welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and today this video is all about PlayStation 5. So if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, if you've been to this channel for a while, you know that I'm an avid gamer. I like video games. I can usually play video games on basically anything you put in front of me. I usually don't have too much of a problem with that. I do, tend to be a little bit harder on, like the PlayStation and, like Nvidia and stuff. Just because, these are the market leader brands when it comes to gaming. And they are not free of criticism when it comes to the overall experience. Now, I know I tend to be a little bit easier on like AMD and Xbox for the most part, but when your branding is all about greatness, yeah, like it tends to permeate in everything that comes from that ecosystem. And when it's not all great, it's kind of disturbing. So if you've been at the channel for a while, you know that basically with my PS5, I only buy and play the exclusive content that you can only get on the PlayStation 5. And I mean, like, that's fine. I mean, I bought the PlayStation. I buy the games. I usually don't complain much about paying $70 for the games, or I really try not to complain very much when it comes to when it comes to things. Like, I really do try to be pretty. I always try to be pretty honest, and I don't try to go out of my way to like just bash things just to bash things. I really don't. I know it might seem like I do sometimes, but I don't. So I just spent the last couple of hours like really getting into the Final Fantasy demo and playing around with that. I've already pre-ordered it. I'm gonna play it on the PS5. I just, was sitting here on the LG OLED, playing around with that and, practicing what I preach, like not just falling back to my 1440p monitor. I was actually practicing what I preach. I sat there, I played that. And so here's some things that I noticed along the way. Now, like I said, if you put your PlayStation 5 in like 1080p mode or 1440p mode, that really does help with the letting the TV upscale the content. I mean, as you know, the LG C2 has an amazing upscaler. Before I was playing that today, I was on there and I was playing some good old Drive Club, and the upscaler in this LG OLED is absolutely phenomenal. If you have some of them older PS4 games and you do have an LC or an LG C1, C2, C3, just any of them, or like a CX or whatever, any of those LG TVs, I implore you to go ahead and check out the amazing upscaler on your LG TV. You do have to manually put your PS5 into 1080p mode. I know that a lot of people are like, "Oh man, I just put it in automatic." No, you have to select that image and let it upscale it, because the PlayStation 5, when you put it in automatic, the automatic only, if you put a like a 1080p screen or a 1440p screen or a 4K screen, it's going to automatically put your PlayStation into that resolution. It isn't going to be like, oh yeah, your game's 1080p, boom, we're going to put it in automatic. No, it only automatically sets up to the display that you are running it to. So if you're 1080p, 1440p, or 4K, it is going to automatically find that. So you do have to go out of your way to set your PS5 into one of those resolutions. Normally, it's best to match the resolution of your PS5 to the closest proximity of output resolution that your game is. So say you got a game that's like 1396p, put it at 1440p. If you got a game that's 1800p, put it at 1440p. If you got a game that's actually 4K, leave it at 4K. And there's a reason why I say 1440p for just under 1440p and anything up to 1800p you know, it will downsample the 1440p, so it'll still be giving you an 1800p image, but then it'll downsample it to 1440p, and then that will upscale even better. It will make your image quality actually look a little bit better than it would be if you were just if you're just upscaling, you know, from like 1396p or like 1440p. So you do have to do that. Take some time, you know, check it out, look at it really closely, bounce back and forth, you know, make sure that you are getting the best overall image quality that you can get. And that's one of the bonuses of buying one of those higher end TVs for your PS5 is you do get to actually take advantage of an amazing upscaler, and it is phenomenal. It really is phenomenal how good that this TV can upscale. Plus, you also, on top of that, you have other settings in your LG or in some of your other higher end LG or OLED TVs. You've got more settings. Like you can, I know that you can set it from like low upscaling, medium upscaling, high upscaling. You know, edge treatment. Some of the other things, you know, like turning on or off tone mapping, stuff like that. You have other options inside your upscalers that you can actually use to even make it look even better. If you do it just standard and let it do its thing, it still looks pretty dang good, but you do have access to that. So, but the whole reason why I called you here today is I want to talk about this PlayStation 5 experience. We're almost to 4 years, and you know, so we had a live stream the other night. People were talking about like, well, PlayStation games always look good in performance mode. They always look good. And I tend to agree for the most part. You know, they usually do. I mean, like your Horizon Forbidden West looks pretty dang good when it's in 1440p mode. In performance mode, you have other games that generally look pretty decent still on a 4K TV. But then you have Final Fantasy. You have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And when I noticed that in the reactor, when I got to the boss, like I could literally see it dropping to like freaking 720p. I mean, I'm sitting in my my seat right there, and I'm sitting, you know, like a couple feet away from my OLED, and I can literally see it getting like pixelated and just being like really super low resolution. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is bad. Like this is horrible. And so I went through all of that demo part and I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, you know, we're fast-paced action. It doesn't really matter that much. I mean, I can deal with that. Whatever. It's fine. But then I get to the open world part and oof, man, like the resolution really does take an enormous hit on this game, man. And like, I don't care how good your upscaler is on your 4K TV, man. This one's a little bit rough, man. Like this is pretty rough. Now I've already bought the game. I intend on keeping it. I'm gonna play it on my 1440p monitor. That to me looks like pixel perfect. Overall resolution and stuff, but there is something dramatically wrong with the PlayStation experience, and I've been saying this since the beginning. I knew this was going to happen. I could already feel it. Your PlayStation games are going to come out looking absolutely incredible, but everything else is going to fall short. It's the PS4 Pro all over again, man. Sony's got some of the best developers in the world that have access to better technology, that actually, you know, have the money, you know, from the sweet Call of Duty money and everything that Sony makes off of third-party games to go ahead and put right back into their games. But when you're talking about a team like Square Enix, or you're talking about some of these other publishers and developers that are really starting to feel the effects of supplying exclusive games for PlayStation, they're really starting to feel it, man. And you're starting to witness the overall. I mean, it's not like these developers are cheaping out on the experience. I mean, but they are. They kind of have to at this point. Like none of these other places, none of these other. I mean, if Sony himself can't afford to continue pumping this kind of fundage into these games, why would you think that Square Enix would be able to do that, or why would you think that Bandai Namco or any of these other Eastern developers that seem to provide Sony with these timed exclusive games that are essentially, most of these developers are at the mercy of the PlayStation gamer, and oh, I don't know, man. When your superiority complex of a PlayStation gamer is like, man, I only buy quality, that kind of disturbs the whole ecosystem on PlayStation. I don't think Jim Ryan factored into his virtuous cycle that the PlayStation gamer mindset, which is quality. I get that, I get that some of these games, obviously, I mean, like Rise of Ronin. I'm going to buy this game too. That game looks like it's probably going to be like 1080p at 60 frames a second. And if you go back and you look at any of the other Team Ninja games, you might potentially get up to 1440p. But I mean, let's face it. This is not a very consistent experience on the PlayStation 5 platform. They really do need a PS5 Pro, and I hope that they can bring that in at a reasonable price. I mean, don't get me wrong. At this point, well, see, here's the thing with Xbox, man. With Xbox, their games don't really go out of their way to try to hit like visual quality standards that like your PlayStation first party games do. I mean, go look at Last of Us Part 2. That game looks absolutely phenomenal on the PS5, the updated version. It looks absolutely phenomenal. And when you're looking at that game, and when you're playing it on even a 4K screen in performance mode, and you're looking at that and you're like, gosh dang, dude, this is absolutely beautiful. And you just look at the work that Sony first party like Naughty Dog or Sony Santa Monica or any of these teams that they have over there at PlayStation, you just see the immense, intense visual complexity that they bring to their games. And then when you look across the board at, like Xbox and what Xbox first party brings to the table, I mean, like, yeah, you can obviously see that there is more fine-tuned detail in these PlayStation exclusives. But then when you look at it from a point of view like a third-party developer versus what Xbox puts out, for the most part, it's a lot more consistent. So you're getting a more consistent experience over on the Xbox between first party versus, third party games on the Xbox platform. Like the Xbox games are not so leaps and bounds forward than what other developers are able to muster or able to put out, that you get a more consistent experience across the board on the Xbox. Whereas on PlayStation, you get some really high quality first party stuff. And then the third party stuff just really can't keep up with that. And I started noticing that back on the PlayStation 4 Pro. That's when I started noticing it because the gap got even bigger. Sony's first party teams could take advantage of like checkerboard rendering. They could take advantage of more of these technologies that are in-house technologies, so that they could and they had the stronger funding from Sony to be able to be able to visualize and get their vision across in a more padded way, as opposed to what like third party developers are really able to do. And I think that sets that platform up, the PlayStation platform up, for it to essentially start becoming less successful for third-party brands, for third-party publishers, for third-party games, because let's face it, man, it's $70. If you're a PlayStation guy, leave Xbox, leave everything else out of the equation. You're a PlayStation guy. The prices just went up to $70. You look at a PlayStation game and you pay $70 for it, and you're like, yeah, that's quality. That's quality. And then you get something else that comes out looking like Final Fantasy VII, and it looks blurry and fuzzy on your on your $2,000 TV or $1,500 TV, and you're like, whoa, what the heck is going on? That's not quality. And then Square Enix kind of shoots himself in the foot by putting out a demo so that you could see, yeah, that's not quality. I ain't buying that. That's not quality $70 game. And so, they did the same thing with Forspoken. You start getting all these games and you get these demos and they come out and these are incredible games. Like the gameplay of Final Fantasy VII is absolutely incredible. I loved Forspoken. I thought it was incredible. I love the parkour in there. I thought the combat was actually pretty cool. I thought Forspoken was pretty cool. Like, yeah, obviously rough around the edges. Definitely needed some more time in the oven. A more fleshed out, story and characters and stuff like that. They could have done so much better with that. But the funding's just not there for these third-party developers. They just don't have that money or that income stream where they can just keep building these projects and pumping money into them until they get them perfect, like PlayStation can. They have to release games. Like Square Enix or Capcom or any of these other publishers, they have to consistently release games so they can consistently make money. And PlayStation just gets to sit back and be like, well, we got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That'll give us some time. We'll be able to take our time. Oh, we got Stellar Blade, or we got all these games that we can just make these guys put out for us, so we can just take our time and massage our games and make them look good. It kind of sucks, man. I do feel bad for third-party developers on the PlayStation platform, especially the ones that sacrifice themselves and their studios and the games to prop PlayStation up. Like, it's been like that for a very long time, and I think that the roosters or the chickens are finally coming home to roost because they're not making any money anymore. They're not turning a big enough profit by utilizing just the PlayStation platform because there's nothing they can do about it. It's like a double-edged sword, I mean, these games look fantastic if you had a 1080p monitor. They do. They look next gen. They have the detail and the overall fidelity of visuals and everything. Like, they look incredible. They play incredible. When they come to PC, they're absolutely phenomenal. So it's not that they're not trying to bring that. It's just they don't have the resources to tap into the super fast SSD of the PS5 to really, I'm joking. They don't really have the resources to sit there and play around. Like they have to pump these out and get them out there in a timely manner. They have to. Like, their businesses absolutely depend on the money that they bring in by selling these games. And without new games on the market, they are not making money. So yeah, this kind of sucks, and I kind of feel like Square's got its back against the wall. They keep taking that filthy freaking PlayStation money, and it's getting them nowhere. They need day one exposure on Xbox, PlayStation, and freaking PC for them to even consider being able to recoup a profit on the games that they're putting out. And I do kind of feel like Final Fantasy VII, it's out there getting a lot of praise. And I'm praising it, dude. I think it's an incredible game. Like, I feel like it's absolutely incredible. But I have access to a 1440p monitor. I know a lot of people are going to wait. Until it comes to PC, because it's getting to a point where I think gamers are starting to wake up and they're starting to see that, hey man, like the PlayStation games look okay and play on the PS5, but man, we're starting to not like the selection that we're getting from our third-party games anymore. We're starting to not appreciate what these developers are able to bring on the PlayStation 5, and that there to me spells doom and gloom for PlayStation and its virtuous cycle. So yeah, man, it's an interesting predicament to be in for PlayStation right now, and I know that I'm feeling it because yeah, dude, I don't want my first experience to be blurry and fuzzy and messed up on a PS5. Like, I don't want that to be my experience anymore with my games. Like, it sucks. It sucks having to be forced, not necessarily forced, but it sucks having to have that as my only option. Because honestly, guys, if PlayStation put all their first-party games on PC day and date and there were no more third-party exclusives going to PS5, I don't think I'd ever buy another game on PlayStation again. Period. Like I would much rather opt for better quality. I want to see these games the way they're meant to be seen. Because I mean, think about it, guys. Every freaking generation of video game that's ever came out, like the stuff that came out was absolutely better than the stuff before it. It always looked better. We never got this like halfway through a generation and games started looking worse. Like we never had that before. It's only been this last generation. Like and this sucks, man. Like this first of this generation came out and had us all 4K candy hyped up and everything, and now we're right back to where we started. I mean, seriously, at the beginning of the PS4 generation, we're like right back to 1080p, man. But at least we're getting 60 FPS this time, so that is awesome. And I mean, obviously, Xbox is not perfect either, but Xbox, at least like I said, it's a lot more consistent experience between first and third party games that it kind of works itself out. So you're never you're not as torn out of the you're not as torn from the experience as you are on PlayStation. Like it's pretty drastic sometimes over here on the PS5, man. You look at a game like Spider-Man 2 looking fantastic at 1440p, and then go into something like Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth and just being absolutely disgusted with the way that looks, and being like, oh my gosh, dude, I can't believe I have to play this way. It sucks, man. So, all right, guys, if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe, man. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.